Alright, so now that we've got all of our basic text in the program and it's been commented out, now we have to go in and we have to begin to kind of figure some things out. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hit me a couple lines, and I need to figure out, well, first of all, what are we trying to do? So what we're trying to do is just, first off, we're going to be testing the big things. Is we're going to be testing whether or not there's a red seed or a blue seed. If there's a red seed, we basically follow all of this code. So I could actually tab all this stuff over because all of this is going to exist up underneath here if it's a red seed. And you'll see this one here if it's a blue seed. Okay, so we've got all of this code up underneath of there if it's a blue seed. We have all that stuff is blue seed. And I could probably even come in, let's just put an extra tab in there. I really want to kind of visually kind of separate it out so I can see exactly what's going on. Alright, trying to get all this stuff on the same line. Alright, so there we go. Alright, so if it's red seed, we're going to do all that stuff. If it's a blue seed, we're going to do all of this stuff. Alright, so now that actually starts to make more sense. So when I look at this, I've got a red, we have to try and figure out if it's a red seed or a blue seed. So basically, when we start to look at these things, I can write what's called an if statement. So if, I'm just going to say seed is, and I'm going to say, instead of is, let's put in a little bit of code here. So double equals red, then we're going to do a bunch of code up underneath of that. So basically what this says is if my seed is red, that's what that is. We're testing to see if it's going to be red. If it's red, then we do a bunch of stuff. Okay? Then we could say else seed. I actually want to do an else if seed double equals blue. So what this is saying is, if my seed is red, we're going to do code that's underneath of it. If it's not, we're going to test to see if it's something else. What the something else is if the seed is blue. Okay? So this is our major groups of organization here. If both of those don't apply, then I'm going to say else. Then I'm going to print out a message that basically says something along the lines of, please input the correct color. And then underneath of that, I'm going to have it basically go back to the beginning. Go to main choice. Okay? And we'll basically consider this main choice. So if my seed is red, then we're going to do code that's underneath of it. Else if, we're going to test also if it's not red, which is what the else, okay, so it's not red. If the seed's blue, then we're going to do code that's up underneath of there. Otherwise, you've left us no other choice because we can only have red or blue. I'm going to print out a message, please input the correct color, and then I'm going to go back to the top line, which is it red or is it blue? So basically we're kind of in this loop here. Alright, in amongst this main structure, I'm going to be able to put all the rest of this code inside of all of it. So it says if seed is red, so that gets rid of that little line of code right there. So I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to select most of all of that, and we'll just delete it. Alright, and then I don't have to try and test for if it's blue anymore, because we're going to be handling that right here. Same thing here. So here we're going to see, we're going to say, okay, so the seed is blue, and then of course, then we have our little else at the bottom that would send us back up to the top. Okay, so now I can grab all of this, and I'm going to basically cut my code, or my pseudocode, and then right here, I'm going to paste it back in. Why? Because all of this, and we're definitely for sure that this is all code for the red seed. Okay, so if the seed equals red, and we know for a fact it's a red seed, we could probably even go in and get rid of that line now, because we know for a fact it is a red seed. And there we go. And then I could probably bring all these lines back across. And this is not the spacing that I really want, but we'll just run with it for now. Okay. So if my seed is red, then we can run all of this code. If my seed is blue, which is all this stuff here, let me go ahead and cut that. Good. And then up underneath blue. Oop. So up underneath blue, we're going to have all of that. Alright, and let me tab all of these lines over so we make sure that we get them all beautifully organized. Because believe it or not, all of the work that we're doing here is going to translate directly to code. It's going to be really pretty awesome. Okay, so now we basically have it organized like this. So if my seed is red, we're going to do all this code. If my seed is blue, else so else means, okay, it wasn't red, so now we're going to test to see if it's blue. If it is blue, we're going to do all of this. If it's not, we're going to keep going. So the final else basically says, then print out a message, hey, you put in the wrong color, basically, and then this here will kick us back up to here because we're going to be in a loop. And when we finally get whether or not it's a red seed or a blue seed, then we'll go from there. Okay? So this actually is starting to get all nice and cleaned up. Now, if the character has a red seed, which we've already verified, yes, it does have a red seed, so I can get rid of all of that code. Not important any longer. We know for a fact it is a red seed. All right, and it's planted in a hot environment. So that would be, let's say, so if we could probably go hot environment. Okay, so if we're in a hot environment, which here's our clarifier, it's over 75 degrees. All right, so now we have and, so I'm going to tab the and over. And in here I have a if it's in a hot environment. So let's just say if hot environment. We don't need the clarifier again. Okay. And we're going to test to see if it's in a wet soil, because up here we have dry soil, here we have wet soil. And then we say, alright, so here we have it's in a cool soil. And in cool soil, so let's just get rid of a bunch of this. Say if cool soil, there's our qualifier, less than 75 degrees. And the soil is dry. Alright, so let's go ahead and tab that over. And we'll tab this one over too, because I can tell that those are going to be pretty common. Alright, so let's say if soil is dry, we'll grow a cactus. If the wet soil, then it'll grow a yellow flower. Alright, so basically we're getting the idea. We're starting to break this stuff down. Next video, we're going to go even further.